All right, Emerald, thank you very much. Well, the first case of an inmate was reported over the weekend at a jail in New York City. That has prompted Pennsylvania Congressman Keller to send a letter to the Federal Bureau of Prisons asking them to halt the transfer of inmates from affected areas to facilities in his community.
He writes to transfer inmates to those facilities following the first confirmed case of COVID-19 in the federal prison system would be irresponsible and put at risk the health and safety of correctional officers, their families, inmates, and the broader central and northeast Pennsylvania community. And joining us now is Congressman Keller to share more about his concerns. Congressman Keller, what are you primarily concerned about right now?
I think I share the concerns of many people when we're talking about the mitigation of the coronavirus. And our first contact to the Bureau of Prisons was actually before that weekend case that came available, or we came to notice of the outbreak in the New York prison. But we had actually talked about that last week. We have the governor of Pennsylvania saying, basically shutting down businesses and doing other things. And, looking here, we asked about these transfers of inmates, or the movement. Actually, we said any movement of inmates into northeastern and central Pennsylvania should be halted in the prison system until we're through this period to, as Dr. Fauci said, flatten the curve. So we had the contact last week. Then we basically read the news story about the outbreak, got some word of it, and reached out to the director of the Bureau of Prisons, actually even Sunday, and didn't get any notice until Monday when we had 32 individuals come into Lewisburg and Allenwood penitentiaries, and one of them was sick enough to actually have to go to the hospital for a COVID-19 test. We don't have the results of that test yet, but we think it would be very irresponsible to continue this kind of behavior. We thought it was irresponsible to begin with, but we really want the Bureau of Prisons to halt the transfer.
So you don't know whether that person is positive for COVID-19, but you want to stop transfers of all prisoners, or just those that may be risky?
We want to stop the movement of any inmates. And I think that goes with what we've been saying, for weeks, that, we have certain counties and certain areas where there's a stay-at-home requirement of people. Why can't we do that with the Bureau of Prisons and make sure that the inmates stay in the locations where they're currently being incarcerated?
Congressman Keller, can you go ahead and give us a broader picture of what's happening across the state of Pennsylvania right now in regard to the coronavirus?
Well, I know the governor has several counties where people are to stay at home. Actually, not any economic activity other than like grocery stores and pharmacies. And many of the businesses in Pennsylvania have been directed to close unless they're life-sustaining businesses. And the governor came out with this order last Thursday, and enforcement started yesterday morning with the state police. And when we're going to these measures to keep our communities safe, we certainly shouldn't be bringing other people into the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania for any purposes when we're talking about particularly the federal government moving inmates from one location to another.
How are you handling those in the state? Because I was just talking to Bernard Kerik moments ago. He used to be the police commissioner in New York. He was saying he's okay with those that have not been violent, nonviolent crimes, high risk, and close to their release dates, that would be okay. Are there any plans to have folks like that released from prisons?
I haven't really gotten into the policy on whether or not we should be releasing people from a prison into the community. I think right now we should follow the guidelines, because the Bureau of Prisons has suspended visitors from family members, from attorneys and other things, and to be moving people in and out of institutions. When our correction officers go into the prisons, they're going through a screening every day when they go in, as far as temperature and questions and other things. And again, just to be moving people around, whether it's releasing early or anything else, I think we should be very careful. And we're in this period. Let's make sure we're doing our part as people that are tasked with public safety, making sure that we're not moving this virus around.
Let me ask you, are people getting kind of biting at the bit? I mean, a lot of business folks, small business owners being forced to shut down, people not going to work. And I'm wondering if you get the feeling in the community the clock is ticking on that, or whether people are okay. What is it like in Pennsylvania in your community?
Well, again, in our communities, we've had a couple cases diagnosed, but here's the important part. We need to do the CDC guidelines, which means let's do the social distancing. Let's make sure we're washing our hands and doing all the things. And I think there's a lot of businesses that can operate doing those things. And you know, there are concerns. While there are concerns about the virus spreading, we know that we can do what we're supposed to do by the CDC guidelines and start to have some of these businesses, because there's a lot of businesses that, when you look at the life-sustaining businesses, that rely on other businesses also being open. So again, I think whatever plan we have, it needs to be very well thought out. It needs to make sure we have public safety in mind, but also don't disrupt our supply chain to the point where it's detrimental to making sure we get the necessities that we need to have in our everyday life.
Congressman Keller, thank you so much for your time today.